Good morning, everybody. So the headlines in the newspaper this morning are stark. They're stark, they're frank, and they are quite literally out of control. We have doomsday scenarios happening right now as we speak. Before we get into this, let me just throw this out there quickly because I've literally just been watching GB News. And for the first time, I've actually seen someone who knows what they're talking about on GB News. I don't know his name. It was It was Michelle Dewberry. Now, unfortunately, and this is nothing against Michelle Dewberry, Michelle Dewberry didn't understand the right questions to ask. So when you're in an interview with someone, you know, the interviewer can be out of depth as well. So this guy, he was clearly an expert on what's happening in the Middle East. Unfortunately, Rachel Dewberry was not asking the right questions. Anyway, he did bring up a good angle about this about the context of what's happening in Iran right now. So first of all, we are literally living in the worst case doomsday scenario right now, whereby all the fuel, all the energy, it just gets stopped. It does, guys. It's just going to get stopped because what's going to happen right now is I'm stockpiling, and I'm going to assume that you guys are stockpiling as well. That's not just petrol. That's not just diesel, you know, stockpiling everything that's fuel. So gas bottles, I went and bought 2 more yesterday. I think it's like 13 kilo LNG. I'm not going to need them, but I'm just buying them and I'm putting them to one side for next year. Or this winter, I guess, next winter. Well, end of the year, right? Now, what happens when people stockpile is you do get those shortages. And then when those shortages get announced, you get more people stockpiling. If you guys can remember the crazy times of March 2020, 6 years ago, literally that number again, 6, right? 6 years ago. In fact, you know what, guys? Do you think it's going to be right? Does anybody think that we are going to be plunged into lockdown 6 years and 66 days since the last lockdown? Does anybody think that? Does anybody think there's a possibility that we could be plunged into lockdown 6 years and 66 days, which would give us 2? Jesus Christ. Yeah. Sorry, guys, I'm going off on a side quest here. So the next live stream I'm going to do is going to be, I'm going to talk about this meningitis virus because it does look like there are some news outlets saying that the meningitis virus has mutated and it's more transmissible now. Oh no, looks like we're going to have lockdown. I'm going to try and give you guys the exact date. I will. Anyway, right, guys, sorry. Let's get back to Iran because there was this guy on not Sky News, GB News this morning, and he was talking about what's happening in Iran. And honestly, guys, he was the first person I've seen on the mainstream media who actually knew what he was talking about. And one of the things he was saying, look, you know, Iran is not like the previous other Arab militaries. You know, they're not like they're not like the Iraqis. You know, I mean, look, the war in Iraq, it was a pushover. You know, they were retreating faster than we could advance. Now, the reason for this is the Iranians have had like 40 years to prepare for this. Literally, the Iranians have had 40 years to prepare for a Western invasion. They've had 40 years to prepare for it. Not only that, they've had 40 years of market research, I guess. So, you know, the Iranians will have been looking at the United States Air Force and saying, yeah, we're not even going to, I'm not even going to, I wouldn't get in the, if I wanted to defeat, I don't know, Deontay Wilder, like Tyson Furious or Mike Tyson or whatever, Prime Mike Tyson. You know, if I wanted to defeat Prime Mike Tyson, there's not a chance I can get in a ring and go one-on-one with Mike Tyson. So why would I even try? I'd try and subvert him. I would try and get him financially. I would try and work at his family, work at his training team, you know, and try and attack him that way. Not a chance the Iranians are going to go face to face with the US Air Force. Not going to happen. They're not going to do that with the US Navy either. However, what they can do is they can understand this and they can go full scale asymmetric. They can understand the vulnerabilities in that region, the gas, the oil, they can look at the choke point that they control, which is the Strait of Hormuz, and they can say, right, okay, this is how we as Iran are going to play this war. Now, when you're fighting a war on your own soil, it's an order of magnitude easier. You don't, the logistics, you don't have to worry about the logistics as much. You don't have to worry about life support at all. Like, your life support is already there, right? What I mean by that, like, your soldiers, your troops, your vehicles, you don't need to take the food, the fuel, the water, the ammunition. You don't need to take that anywhere. You don't need to ship that over thousands of miles, because guess what? It's already there, right? It's already there. You're in that country. So that sort of stuff, for the Iranians, it's a lot easier. You always have home team advantage, which the Iranians have now. Anyway, let's get on to this, guys, okay? Because the headlines coming out of the Middle East are quite alarming for anyone like who's alive in the world, right? If you're alive and you are in the world right now, you're feeling this, guys. Everybody in the world is feeling this. Just in the last 24 hours, the conflict has escalated to a new level, and it does look very much like an energy war. This is worse than the 2003 Iraq war. And we are all going to feel this, guys, okay? So overnight and into today, Iranian forces have launched strikes on key energy sites across the region. Major hits on LNG facilities in Qatar, especially the Ras Laffan complex, the world's biggest LNG export hub. So yesterday we said, didn't we, that some places are reporting, some places in Europe are reporting, there were some places in Europe reporting that gas prices had gone up by 35%. Sky News are reporting 25%. I guess, we'll find out soon where that levels out. But if more of these gas facilities are destroyed, it can't bring the price down, right? It can only go up. Now, there's been attacks on oil refineries and gas units in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and even touching facilities in the United Arab Emirates. This comes straight after Israel carried out airstrikes on Iran's South Pars gas field, the single largest gas reserve on the planet. Shared between Iran and Qatar, one strike on South Pars sparked fires and damage, and Iran's response was swift and broad. The damage figures are absolutely eye-watering. The Qatar Energy has said that just one set of missile strikes on parts of Ras Laffan knocked out around 17% of their liquid natural gas export capacity, a facility worth about $26 billion to build. Wow, can you imagine that, guys? 26 billion just gone. A facility that will cost 26 billion to build and will take 3 to 5 years to repair. So when I say to you guys that nothing's going to be back to normal until forget everything. Forget everything for at least 3 years, guys. That's where we are right now. 3 years. Don't even like, just accept right now. Stop, don't listen to these half-baked politicians on the TV, on the media, on the radio. They don't know what they're talking about. 3 years, right? Don't even waste your time expecting the fuel price to come down for 3 years, guys. This is where we are now, unfortunately. Production has been halted in, they call it production, right? Extraction's been halted in places. Force majeure declarations are looming on long-term contracts, and that means even less gas heading to global markets. Here in Europe, natural gas prices have absolutely spiked, up to around 35% in some benchmarks in the past days alone. Oil's been volatile, with Brent crude oil pushing higher amid fears of wider disruption. And I know people are watching this, right? And, you might be watching this and thinking that this is not going to affect you. I promise everyone right now, this is already affecting you. Okay, you don't drive a car. Well, guess what? Your bus fares are going up, all right? Oh, I don't travel anywhere. I walk everywhere. Okay, the cost of everything in the places that you buy, you know, unless you live 100% off grid, you create your own energy, you grow your own food. Even then, you're going to need stuff, right? If you are alive, if you drink water or liquid and eat food and buy stuff, this is going to affect you guys. You know, and this is after barely a day of this, this new intensified tit for tat. Can you guys imagine weeks of strikes on the energy structures? Analysts are already warning of the economic doomsday scenario, and which we're in, guys. This is an economic This is doomsday scenario, guys. Okay, economic doomsday scenario: choked supplies through the Strait of Hormuz, cascading shortages, inflation spikes, higher costs rippling through everything from heating our homes, running factories, filling up cars, food on the shelves. But the scale here, targeting the very heart of global gas and oil infrastructure, is on another level. It is, guys. You know, everything is just rocketing. President Trump, watching from Washington, has weighed in forcefully. He reportedly considered sending U.S. troops to help secure the Strait of Hormuz if things worsen. Now, I don't know if U.S. troops are on their way there or whether this is going to happen. I have heard reports that the United States Navy are going to be sending ships down there to open it up. Not going to happen, guys. Not going to happen. Not in a million years. And even if it does happen, it's not going to matter because the price of oil is going to go up so high. Can you guys remember in the war in Iraq? The price of the price of petrol and diesel, it went up. It went up because the price of getting that oil, getting that diesel spikes, right? So if go on. If the cost to get the oil, to get the crude oil, if their cost goes up because they have to have US Navy escorts, the insurance premiums are tripling. Yes, you can get that oil through, but what's the point? Because the price goes up so high anyway. It makes it unobtainable. So Donald Trump is reportedly considering sending US troops to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. Not going to happen. He distanced the United States from Israel's initial strike on South Pass, saying America wasn't involved and warning Israel didn't hit the gas field again, while bluntly threatening Iran, if you guys keep targeting, innocent Qatari facilities, the United States will blow up the whole South Pass field, with or without Israel's, Israel's support. Now, the Iranian line is clear. Their retaliation is defensive and they're not backing down while under attack. Israel, for its part, has Netanyahu indicating the campaign will wrap up faster than many people think. I don't think it will, guys. It depends on what people think, right? I think this is going to be here for 3 years at least. No firm timeline, but with energy sites now fair game on both sides, the risk of prolonged disruption is ridiculous. For us here in the United Kingdom, we are reliant on fuel imports because we closed our North Sea oil. We want to protect the environment, so we just buy oil off other people and they drill it from our ground now. So we are reliant of oil and gas imports from everywhere, literally everywhere. The Russians, as I understand it, the Russians, their oil. They're having their sanctions lifted. What that's going to do is that's going to give the Russians round about an extra 50 billion a year to put into their war coffers. And the likelihood of a new war front opening up right now in Europe is, as far as I'm concerned, guys, there are red lights flashing absolutely everywhere. Now, I don't think there's any window for de-escalation in this conflict. I think all sides need to fight it out. There needs to be a winner, or, you know, or somebody needs to win or somebody needs to lose. Remember, a war is only over until, you know, until when both sides say it is. So if the Americans and the Israelis, they say, yes, this war's over now, we've defeated the Iranians, and the Iranians are like, no, we're not. We are definitely not defeated, and fire a shitload of missiles. Guess what? The war's not over, right? Equally, if the Iranians say, yep, we are in control now, we are, you know, we've won this war, and the Americans then decide to strike them again, guess what? It's not over. So from both sides, from the Iranians, I guess the Iranians, it's a little bit easier, but certainly from the United States, like from the United States side, we need to know, well, you know, I don't need to know, you know, but it appears to me that there is, you know, it appears to me that there is some sort of confliction with what the actual mission objectives are. If you guys remember, when these strikes went in on the 28th, it was to take out Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities. It was to take out their long-range missile production facilities, and it was to destroy their navy. Okay. Then, you know, it was regime change. Then it was to take out the leadership. And, you know, you've literally just had this mission creep where more and more stuff's being bombed. So I don't know what the end game is. Obviously, you know, I'm sure they know in the United States. I don't need to know. I'm not going to come on here and say, we need to know. We definitely don't need to know what the end game is. But, you know, without that end game and without that exit strategy, these things just continue, right? You know, and with an end game, with an exit strategy, domestically at home, you do need to let people know what it is at some point. So, for example, if the United States say, right, our mission and task is to destroy the Iranian Navy. That's it. They go in there, they destroy the Iranian Navy, all the docks and everything. That's it. Mission accomplished. Yay. High fives all around. If you keep expanding that mission, people start to become wary, and they're like, right, okay, so what is actually the mission here? Why are we doing this? Why are we getting fuel strikes? Why are we getting, retaliatory strikes? Why are there sleeper cells being activated? Why is the price of my heating going up? Why is industry closing? Me personally, I think this is to cause the ultimate doomsday scenario, which is economic reset. Ultimately, guys, that's what I think is happening right now. I think we are looking at a full-scale economic reset. Now, that may or may not sound terrifying to you guys, but think about it. Just think about this, guys, okay? Just imagine this. All the companies, all the infrastructure, all the supply chains, all the logistics, all the farming just closes overnight. Everything. Doomsday scenario, guys, okay? Nobody can get finance. Nobody can get money. Nobody has energy. Everything grinds to a halt. The farmers can't go out and plow their fields because the price of fuel makes it, you know, it's not worth it for the farm. Think about this, guys, okay? This year in the every year actually in the United Kingdom, we all know, right, that farmers don't make that much of a profit, right? And the government are taxing them into oblivion. So for a farmer, right, he's Farmer X, Farmer Giles, right? Let's just say Farmer Giles. He's got a field and he can plant, I don't know. Look, guys, I don't know the numbers of this. If anybody knows the numbers on this, please let me know, because this is probably going to be wildly wrong. But for the example, you know, let's just say Farmer Giles has a field and he normally gets £7,000 to £10,000 profit from that field. That's over a year, right? So he gets, I don't know, 7 to 10. It's going to be easier, right? 7 to 10,000 pound profit over a year if he grows crop X or whatever. Okay, right. So if fertilizer goes up and that's costing him an extra 2 grand, and then and then the price of fuel goes up and that's costing him an extra 2-3 grand, then that's an extra 5 grand that has to come off his profit, right? Because he can either then try and raise the price at the supermarket, which we're all going to pay, which you probably won't, or you can take that from yourself from the profit. So now the farmer's looking at this and he's thinking, right, okay, so I can take a risk here and maybe earn 2 grand profit if everything goes well, right? And the prices don't rise again. Or I can not even bother and then I don't risk losing that money. Because a lot of farmers, guys, a lot of farmers, when a crop fails, there was a, what is it? Is it corn? Corn? Yeah, corn on the cob. There was a corn near where we live. I drove past the other day, last year, actually. And the crop had failed. The corn crop had failed, and he just left it there. So these crops do fail, and that's a financial, that's a financial negative for the farmer. So this year, with the fuel prices, with the additional tax on farming, it's going to affect everything, guys. It really is. I wouldn't be surprised if more farms go bust this year and then we end up having solar panels on it or something. We are so cooked, guys. We are so cooked. And then you look at, so this is worst case doomsday scenario now. Total financial, economic meltdown. So now the farmers have given up growing food. Okay, right. So guess what? Don't worry, guys. Okay, don't worry. Okay, we'll just import more. Absolutely fine. We'll just import more. Well, guess what? People in Poland, people in Eastern Europe, where you can grow good food because the weather, the climate's good for it. Guess what? Well, their prices are going up as well because this is a global crisis. So because their prices are going up, the Polish government say, right, okay, we're not having any exports. We're not doing any exports because that's going to leave our own country. It's going to leave our own country poor. I think Britain are the only country in the world right now who don't think about British people first. That's what it feels like to me, guys. So we are going to be in this situation very soon where I think we've got a famine coming. I do, guys. I really do. I see this leading to a famine. And this war in the Middle East is just going to push that on. If we keep having, and I think we will, these energy strikes, taking out gas, oil, energy, shipping, that energy crisis will ultimately lead to a famine, and it will lead to a lot of people going hungry, and the ultimate hunger, which is when you go to the candy shop, and that's going to force economic migrants. That's going to force people, because the poorer countries, they can't afford. The poorer countries, they can't afford, to buy expensive imports. They just don't have the money, and people will not send them imports because the people think, right, okay, well, I can get, I don't know, $1 a kilo for this grain in the United Kingdom, or I can get, I don't know, 10 cents for a kilo of this grain in Africa or whatever. So guess what, guys? They're going to go where they can get the most money. So that's the reality. What's going to happen then is we're going to have more, we're going to have more the migration crisis is just going to rocket and spike. Then we're going to have the new Russian push in Europe. The Russians are going to push through again at some point. They're either going to push in Ukraine, or they're going to push up through Estonia. I think if there's going to be rocket attacks in Europe, it's going to be in Poland. But if there is a land pirates offensive, I think that will come in. Estonia. And if you guys have not seen my video on that last night, I talked about that quite a lot last night. Nobody's talking about it yet. But when that happens, You know, potentially, I'm not convinced it will happen not this weekend, but next weekend on the 2nd, 3rd of April. However, when it does happen, you'll get all these people on the mainstream media. They'll all be talking about it. They'll all become experts. Nobody knows what they're talking about. They really don't. If anybody says that this conflict is going to be over soon, not a chance. This is a 3 years, guys. Don't hold your breath. Like, expect things to get worse for at least 3 years. Worse and worse and worse and worse. I don't think diesel is going to level out any lower than £2.50 a litre. I don't think diesel is, guys. I've said it and I keep saying it all the time. I genuinely see a scenario coming very soon where diesel is just taken off the shelves. Diesel gone. Diesel gone, delivered on. It's gone off the shelves. Why? Because, everything runs on diesel. Critical infrastructure runs on diesel. If there's a shortage, I think those shortages could be announced next weekend as well. We just don't have enough. We don't have enough gas and oil in the country, guys, especially in the United Kingdom. Right, let me jump onto the chat and then I think I've got some videos for you guys as well. Right, good morning, everybody. Right, I'm on the chat now, guys. I'm looking. Paul is saying, I've got a giant allotment opposite me. I already done a deal with the growers. Makes sense. Yeah. I just went and bought. What did I go? I bought a load of sprouts, to grow, and a load of cabbages. So this year we are growing sprouts and cabbages. Why did I choose sprouts and cabbages? Well, we all like sprouts and cabbages. You can freeze them. I'm gonna chop them up and freeze them. But yeah, I think everybody should be encouraged to grow their own food. Really, guys, like everybody should try and grow their own food. Thomas is saying Russian jets have violated Estonian airspace overnight. Yeah, if it comes, guys, it's going to come in. It's going to come in Estonia. Palmer is saying someone wants to tell the Welsh Guards they just deployed there. Estonia's defences have been constantly strengthened for the last few years. Debbie Doobs is saying, shit. Our car is diesel. Yeah, if you've got a diesel car, guys, you really need to make plans, because I genuinely see the scenario where diesel's taken off the shelves or the price has gone up so much it makes it unobtainable. Googliness is saying British factories face production cuts within weeks. Yeah, look, guys, we are looking right now at the ultimate doomsday scenario, and we are in it. We are absolutely in this. Imagine all the factories closing down, right? Right. You guys on here know what I'm going to say, right? When the factories close down, that forces people into unemployment. When people are unemployed, they don't spend at the supermarket. They don't spend because guess what? They ain't got no money. They're unemployed. So when they can't spend, those shops that they spend their money in, they go shut. And we are looking right now in the United Kingdom at full-scale economic meltdown, guys. And the shadows, these dark shadows are moving closer and closer and closer. And every day you get something else that pushes us towards that. Google Enos is saying a vulnerable child at the heart of chicken nugget deportation case, says regulator. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys know, but there was like a couple of, I think it was last year, or it might be, I can't remember, a couple of months ago at least. There was this article in the newspaper. I think he was an Albanian gang lord, and he couldn't be deported because his child didn't like the chicken nuggets in Albania. Iranian foreign minister tells Yvette Cooper UK letting US use bases is participation in aggression. Yeah, look, everything in the Middle East at the moment, guys, it all comes down to RAF Akateria in Cyprus. The British bases, they're they're fine, but the real base at the moment is RAF Akateria. And oh, hang on. Yeah, I said to you guys this a while ago, didn't I? Remember when, guys, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on for the first time and you've not done so already, please hit those buttons down below. Like this island, Karg Island or Kark Island or Kargigi Island, depending on what map you're using. Everybody seems to be an expert on it now. All the mainstream media, they all know what they were talking about. I can guarantee nobody could point to that like 2 weeks ago. Like over a year ago, certainly last year, I was talking about this island and its strategic importance. The fact that nobody on the 12th of the 12-day war back in June, I think. Back in June, the fact that nobody dropped a bomb on Karg Island, what that meant is it meant, right, the United States want to take that intact. Now, the reason they want to take it intact is quite clear, because they want to use it. The Iranians, I feel the Iranians would rather see that go up in flames than have the United States take it. So what I would speculate is happening right now. And when it happens, you're going to get all these talking heads saying, oh no, can't believe the Iranians blew it up. Yeah, guys, that's what happens, right? In war, if you're going to lose something, rather than let the enemy get it, you blow the shit out of it. That's war, guys. This is warfare, all right? And, I think people need to understand when the beginning, the initial phases are not even over yet. So as Googling is saying that the Trump administration are studying plans to occupy Karg Island to pressure for reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. This has to be an airborne option, but I think it would be an absolute disaster. Strategically, there's nothing there. Certainly militarily, there's no military. Let me show you. Because, hang on, give me a second. I'll show you exactly what we're talking about. Do you know what? Hang on, give me a second. I might be able to get it on the other map. If I can get it on the other map, I won't use Google Maps because I can't draw in it. I don't think I can get down there. No, it's too... so close. So close. Right. I can't get it on the other map. Let me... Right, so let's share this. So you have Iran, you have Oman, you have Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, you have Israel, you have Cyprus, Arif Akateri, you have the Gulf of Oman, you have the Strait of Hormuz, and then you have the Persian Gulf. So let's scroll in. Listen, guys, for context, does anyone actually know where Karg Island is? I can pretty much guarantee most people that are on the mainstream media right now, they don't even know where it is. They talk about this island and they probably think that's it or something just there, south of Bandar Abbas. It's not. It's up here. There. Okay. So look at the proximity of Karg Island to Iran. All right. Like that's ridiculously close to Iran. The only way that you can get forces in there is to drop them helicopter assault or an airborne assault. Yeah, I mean there is a runway, so you could land on. You could land on with a C-130. So there's a runway like to the north. There you can see it. That grey little bit there, that's a runway. So you could land a C-130 on there, a couple of C-130s, stow them in, and I think that would be your military operation. However, once those C-130s are on there, they become very vulnerable then, because what are you going to do there? Right, okay, so you send in the US military, they take control of Karg Island, then what? Then what? What do you do then? Literally, what do you do then? Because you can't get any ships to them. Like, not a chance is anyone going to be sailing. And if that does happen, and the US military are on Karg Island, a week's kit and equipment with them, they're going to come under heavy drone bombardment, heavy missile attacks. If the US military go in there without securing this southern flank, it's going to be a one-way mission for those guys, because there's not a chance they're going to be able to get reinforcements up through past the Strait of Hormuz and into Karg Island if things go wrong. So I would say if they're planning taking Karg Island, Kargigi Island, you need to take that whole southern region of whole southern region of Iran. And with the with the advancements in drone technology now, it's going to be a bad day out for the US military. It really is. That may be what they want. That may be what they want. They may want to have some troops out there isolated, and then they say, right, okay, we've got to go and get our troops. So then you have to send the whole US Navy in there, right, for that rescue operation. I do think the United States want to take Karg Island, but there's no military significance of that island. Not a chance. No significance of it at all, guys. Nothing. There's an economic significance and a strategic significance because of the oil processing facilities that they have. But as far as military goes, there is absolutely no point in taking Karg Island right now. I would say that that's going to be left untouched. The United States understand that as soon as the Iranians see a C-130 or V-22 Ospreys, it's not even going to be V-22 Ospreys, guys. It has to be a C-1. The V-22 Osprey, it doesn't carry enough kit and equipment. They're very small, and you're going to need quite a lot of stuff. Think about it, right? You send these special forces guys, 101st Airborne, 82nd Airborne, US Rangers, whatever. You send them in, airborne assault, you take the island, right, okay, we control the island. Now what? Now what do you do? Well, we're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is hundreds of miles away. Like, you're now in the middle of the Persian, well, you're not even in the middle of the Persian Gulf. You're in the far side of the Persian Gulf, real close to Iran. So there isn't any significance in taking Kargigi Island just yet. Right, Silly Gallardi is saying that in 2 years, Israel are going to have a Democrat president we are going to have a Democrat president in the United States. You see what is happening in the UK and most European countries. Europe letting Russia its way with Ukraine. The only people that hope is... hang on a minute, let me read this again. You see what is happening in the UK and most European countries. Europe letting Russia its way with Ukraine. The only hope is that we win. Right, okay. So Silly Gallardi is saying the only hope is that there is a win within 2 years. I would say that there's going to be a world war and Donald Trump will stay on as a war president. I don't think Donald's DJT is leaving anytime soon. Right, guys, I'm jumping to the bottom again. So I'm just conscious that I've been waffling for quite a while about Karg Island or Kargigi Island. Clarendon is saying, yes, in 3 to 4 years, our fate will be sealed with Reform or the Greens winning and the Democrats back in the United States. Debbie Doobs is saying, surely if supplies can't get through the strait, it means supplies are getting in. It means supplies are getting in either. The GCC, we are having like huge, we're going to have huge food problems, guys. We are huge food problems in the United Kingdom. The real sassafras is saying it's not anytime soon. This is going to go for a long time. Yes, it is. I know somebody high up in the know, and that's the word on the street. Yeah. when this happened, I told everyone, I said, listen, ladies and gentlemen, let's not pretend that this is going to be over in any less than 3 years. 3 years at the minimum. Like, just expect your fuel prices and the price of everything and things to get worse consistently for the next 3 years, right? And then it's not going to shock you, right? It's not going to shock you. Stephen Dever is saying, I live in a small island called Tasmania. We are F for petrol. I don't know what that means. What does F for petrol? Fine. Are we fine for petrol? But the 50 a head of Angus and 200 head of sheep should keep me going for meat, leather, and wool for a while. Brim your car, guys. Brim your car. Googling us is saying, imagine what we would be like under a Green Party leadership with the world going on like this. Yeah, it would be crazy, guys. Absolutely bonkers. Right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, let me jump back on track because we are going down on some side quests, which is fine, which is absolutely fine. But what the crux of this live stream, what we've been talking about today, guys, is the ultimate doomsday scenario that we are in right now. If you live in the world, I'm seeing a full-scale breakdown of absolutely everything. So many times I've been on this live stream and I've said, everything comes from fuel. Everything comes from energy. If you have clean, unlimited, cheap, I guess, energy, you've got everything. You don't need, there'll be no wars, there'll be no nothing, right? Everybody will live in like abundance. Literally, everybody will live in abundance. Unfortunately, we don't have that. We have oil, so we have to burn shit, right? We have to burn shit and then make stuff turn, and then it turns turbines, and then we get electricity. When that stops, everything stops. And I don't think people really understand what it's going to be like if these factories... In fact, hang on, let me get this, because Google Enos sent me something earlier. Hang on, give me a second. Right, let me share this with you guys. British factories face production cuts within weeks. Oh, no, I don't want to claim. So that's an article there, guys, from the Telegraph. British factories face production cuts within weeks. This was literally, this is an hour old. Manufacturers could bear the brunt of the energy crisis after the attacks on the Gulf send facilities costs soaring. British factories face production cuts within weeks because of surging gas prices. Did I not say that exact same thing like a couple of days ago? The exact same thing. So what happens is when the gas prices go up, all the factory prices, all their prices have to go up, and they're just you can't produce stuff anymore. So when you can't produce stuff, like imagine a factory. And I don't mean, look, guys, I don't mean to teach anyone. I don't mean to teach anyone to suck eggs, but just to try and like simplify this as best as I can. Imagine a factory, right? Imagine a factory that produces, I don't know, cups, right? You've got a factory, it produces cups. And that's in the middle of a village, right? Right in the middle of a village. And everybody in that village, a lot of people from the village work in that factory, right? And what they do is they've got kilns, and there's a gas-fired kiln, right? And they kill their cups in the kiln, and it's like it's traditional. If the price of gas goes up by 30-35%, and I don't think we've seen the end of it yet, guys, okay, then your operating costs go up, right? So Now your cup that cost that, you know, you were selling at your little bespoke market for like, I don't know, £5, that cost is now out of reach because that goes up to like what, £7 or £8 or whatever. I don't know. So nobody buys them. Because nobody buys them, you can't keep producing at a higher cost when you're not getting rid of your goods. And you know, people are thinking, right, okay, well, I don't want these. You know, I've got enough cups actually. You know, I don't need any more cups. So that factory has to close down, right? Once you close that factory, first of all, once you close factories down, it's very hard to start them up again. So the factory's closed down now, okay? So all those people who worked at the factory, right? They went home. They went to the local convenience store. They went to the local butchers. They went to the local fruit market. They spent their money from the factory at those, you know, the fruit and veg shop, at the butchers, at the convenience store. Guess what? All those three shops now, they go out of business because they're not getting the money from the staff that come into there. So now you've got like a whole village that's unemployed, and you get downstream as well because on a Tuesday, every Tuesday afternoon, the factory, every afternoon, the factory, they used to have their own sandwiches, and they used to have a baker, and a baker used to bring fresh bread rolls. Well, they don't need that order anymore. So those bread rolls go out, you know, so that baker doesn't get any more money. So the baker has to close. Because the baker closes, the people who rely on the baker, the burger vans, the little delicatessens, the cafes, right, okay, we can't get any bread cakes now. So you see the economic crisis that we're in right now, guys. And this all comes from what's happening now. We're not going to see this for a couple of months. But this will hit. You know, it's like, can you guys remember when Rishi Sunak was printing money? And he's saying, no, there won't be inflation. And I'm like, what? He's like, no, right, what we're going to do, we're just going to print a load of free money, but don't worry, there's going to be no inflation. And I'm like, come again. You're going to print a load of money, but there's no inflation. Inflation's a tax on everyone, guys. It is. Inflation's a tax on everyone. We're swizzled. Right, I'm jumping down again, guys. John Tracy is saying curly sandwiches are the best. I don't know what a curly sandwich is. Is that like curly whirly fries? I know the girls love those curly whirly fries. Yeah, okay. So talking about Carg Island. Oh, so hang on. Google Enos is saying this is from a senior US administrating office. Carg Island's Carg Island has nothing to do with the Strait of Hormuz. It really doesn't, guys. So just look at the distance here. No, not that one. Where is it? Hang on, give me a second. There we are. Yeah. So can you guys see that? So Carg Island is like to the, let me zoom in actually, I'll show you. So this is Carg Island there. Carg Island, Cargigi Island, Carg Island, whatever you want to call it there. That's the island, right? There's absolutely zero significance taking Carg Island when you look at the distance from Carg Island to the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is, for you guys who are watching, the Strait of Hormuz is to the right of the screen, just south of that place called Bandar Abbas. There's literally, like, it makes no, like, can you imagine taking Carg Island? How's that going to help Bahrain and Qatar and Saudi Arabia get their oil out? It's not. Okay, to take the Strait of Hormuz, you need to be looking at, these islands around here. Qushem, Bandar Abbas, Hormuz. They're the islands that you need to take. not Carg Island, because there just isn't there's just no military there's just no military application for it other than the economic application, because Carg Island has 90% of Iran's gas oil processing on that little island. It's a huge strategic outpost. International Energy Agency urges work from home. Right, listen, guys, I am going to jump on later on. I am going to jump, literally straight after this, I'm going to do another live stream, and I'm going to be talking about all this work from home, because I do genuinely see another lockdown coming. I see another lockdown coming. Allotments will get robbed. Pigeons will be back in pies. And Captain Birdseye robbed on the seas by migrants in dinghies. There may be trouble ahead. Yeah, food shortages is definitely coming, guys. Food short. So I don't think we're going to run out of food in the United Kingdom, but I do think food shortages are coming. First of all, like, food shortages they're like a food shortages are like, they are a self-fulfilling, they're a self-fulfilling prophecy, because as soon, literally, the very second that someone in the government says, yeah, we're having food shortages, boom, everybody rushes out to the supermarket and they are panic buying. They are panic buying like an absolute swizzler. And then you have food shortages, right? Because people are panic buying. So with your staples, fruit, vegetable, we eat to excess anyway in the United Kingdom. We do. We have far too much food. And listen, it may do some people well to have a more of a lean diet. Right, listen, guys, I'm just conscious of the time, and I am going to be jumping straight back on, and I'm going to be talking about meningitis and how I feel what's happening right now in the south of England. I do feel every day we're getting a little bit, I keep saying that the setup and payoff. I do feel like, if you think about that theory, guys, the setup and payoff. When people are watching movies, right, you can get a lot of information from them, right? The people who are watching movies, because people will react to movies how they react to world events, right? Oh, he's a baddie. He's a goodie. Yay, goodies. Boo, baddies. So if you paint people as baddies, yay, the goodies are destroying the baddies. This is what you're seeing. I don't think there's goodies and baddies anywhere. I think there's just differences in, there's just differences. And sometimes those people have to fight it out. And the winner, the winner usually wins, right? So, yeah, first of all, with this meningitis thing, I am seeing, and I don't want to really go into it now, because I'm going to literally close this down, and then I'm going to jump on and I'm going to do another live stream, and I'm just going to be talking about meningitis, lockdowns, and how that has mutated, or it reportedly mutated. But jumping back onto this live stream, these headlines coming out of the Middle East, guys, they really are devastating. We won't feel this for a couple of months, because what will be happening right now is factories and people, people in factories, and I'm talking about like manufacturers now. Like, a manufacturer does not want to close down their factory. They don't want to close it down, because, they know if they close it down, they're going bust and they're going to be out of a job, right? So right now, in these factories, you're getting people having emergency meetings. Oh, but Donald Trump says this. Oh, but these people say this. Oh, but these people say this. Oh, my God, but they're going to do this. Oh, but they're going to do this. Oh, but let's give it another week, because the United States Navy are going to open the Strait of Hormuz. And then you're going to have somebody in the factory saying, yeah,
Yep, Donald Trump will open it. Yep, they'll open it. This will all be over in a week. Yep. Let's just keep the production going. Yep, keep production going. Yep.
It's not, right? In any conflict, take decisive action early, right? Admit the problem, accept the problem, take decisive action early. Any problem you get to in your lives, actually, right? Taking decisive action early helps. I'm thinking about, for some reason, I'm thinking about off-road driving. Now, if anybody's been off-road driving, right, and you get stuck, you know, if you get stuck and you're in denial and you're just revving the engine and the wheels are spinning and getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and you're sat there going, there's mud going everywhere, and you're going, and you're just getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Yeah, you're bellied out now. Not a good thing, right? You didn't take decisive action early. However, if you know you're an off-road driver, an experienced off-road driver, you get stuck, wheels are spinning, you look. Yeah, wheels are spinning. Yeah, we're stuck. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to touch this. I am not going to touch this. It's just going to make it worse. I'm going to get my shovel. I'm going to get out. I'm going to accept that if I don't take decisive action early now, it's going to be worse for me. So you get out, you get your shovel, you get dirty. Might take you an hour and a half. But if you take, it might take you an hour and a half. You're going to be dirty. You're going to be muddy, but you'll get your vehicle back. It's exactly the same in industry. It's exactly the same in warfare. It's exactly the same in people's lives. All right. Admit defeat early, admit crisis early, and take decisive action. Because right now, ladies and gentlemen, the conflict in the Middle East, the warnings are flashing. We literally have the ultimate doomsday scenario, and we're literally living through the ultimate doomsday scenario right now, where everything closes. Overnight, the Iranian forces launched these strikes onto the key energy sites across the region, major hits on liquefied gas facilities. Qatar, especially the massive Ras Laffan complex, which is the world's biggest LNG export hub, being destroyed. So even if they could open the Strait of Hormuz, all the oil facilities, in that region, all the export hubs have been destroyed. So, yay, we opened the Strait of Hormuz. Come on, guys, let's export your oil. Oh, we can't. Everything's blown up. It's going to take us 5 years to rebuild. Oh, okay. There have been attacks on oil refineries and gas units in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, even the United Arab Emirates, which is in retaliation for the Israeli strikes carried out on Iran's South Pars gas field. Now, let me just throw this out there, guys, okay? When a country is in a war, like Iran, you can't say to someone that you're not allowed. Right, we're in a war, but you're not allowed to strike this target and you're not allowed to strike that target. It's ridiculous, guys. It's absurd. Oh, international. Yeah, nobody cares. Nobody cares right now, guys. There is a hot war happening. It's only going to end one way. I think it can only end. It can only end with the United States Israel victory. It's going to be painful to get there. If the United States and Israel stop overnight, they say, yeah, listen, we're done. And then the Iranians fire more missiles. Guess what? You've just supercharged the Iranians. You've just supercharged the Iranians, because the Iranians will be saying, yep, world's biggest air force, world's second biggest air force, world's biggest navy, Israel, they all threw everything at us, and we're still, and we thwarted it. We thwarted it. That's what will happen. It will just empower and embolden, the Iranians. So yeah, it doesn't look well, guys. It really doesn't. The main headline that Guglielmo just shared with us then: British factories face production cuts within weeks. Yeah, that's coming, guys. We are literally in that ultimate doomsday scenario right now, where everything's closing, taxes are going up, nobody's got any money, people are going to be fighting over food and water. Helen is saying, get your seeds in. Yeah, I bought, I think we've got 10, we've planted 10 little sprout plants and 10 cabbage plants. I've been putting them, do you know what? They're already started. They were £1. It was £1.50 for 10. Was it £1? Yeah, so £3 for 20. I thought I can buy the seeds, but at like £1.50, that's like more or less the same price as the seeds, and they're already started. So I bought them in these little pots. I'll do a video on it. I'll put it on my story later. Googleinos is saying the army could replace the Land Rover with the German Shadow Wolf. Yeah, we said this, didn't we, a while ago? They need interoperability. I think this is a good thing. So for those of you guys who've been following me for a while, I've been saying that right now we need full standardization of kit and equipment across Europe. Let me get this up. German Shadow Wolf. It sounds cool, right? German. It's basically a G-Wagon. Let's share this. Army could replace Land Rover with German Shadow Wolf. It's basically a G-Wagon, right? It's basically a Mercedes G-Wagon. Look, it's, I don't know what it's. Yeah, I think that's built off a G-Wagon as the base model. But yeah, so the reason for this is because they need to have that, there needs to be that interoperability. Now, if you're fighting a war in Europe against the Russians and your Land Rover breaks down, you have to get parts shipped from Britain, right? Nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Logistical nightmare. However, if everybody's using German Shadow Wolf vehicles, guess what? It's all there, right? It's already there. Oh, and the US has launched an offensive? Let's see. Let me see this. I might have to do a... Usually 3. It's 2. Wow. Okay. Right. Breaking news from 20 minutes ago. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so this is literally from 20 minutes ago, guys. It looks like the United States have launched, US launches offensive to reopen Strait of Hormuz. Low-flying jets and Apache helicopters deployed by Washington strike Iranian vessels and drones near the vital shipping lane. I don't think it's going to happen. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be really difficult without having boots on the ground. I may do that as a standalone. I may be doing that as a standalone. Iran says we have the rights to respond to Britain's aggression. Yeah, of course they do. They're in an absolute, they're in an absolute war zone at the moment. And the real Saffafras is sending a $4.99 super. Thank you so much, Sassafras, for your super. Right, listen, on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down. Okay, I'm going to be straight back on. I'm going to be straight back on, guys, and I'm going to be talking about this. I might do a short. Do you know what, guys? I'm going to be straight back on, and I'm going to talk about the US launching. I'm going to be straight back on, and I'm going to talk about the US launching this offensive in the Strait of Hormuz. I'm then going to come straight back on again, and I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to do a longer live stream about what's happening in. What's happening with meningitis in the United Kingdom and how I think this is the setup to the payoff, and the payoff is lockdowns. Remember, there's lots of reasons why we could get pushed into lockdowns at the moment. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have been fantastic. Thank you so much, The Real Sassafras, for your super. Much appreciated. And for the rest of you, and for everyone else, thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. I am literally going to be straight back on, guys, and I'm going to talk about the United States launching their offensive to open the Strait of Hormuz. So I will literally see you guys in 5 minutes.